Forget boring textbooks. Discover how stories can unlock your hidden language learning potential. Welcome to the fascinating world of language learning through storytelling. Have you ever wondered why children can absorb languages so effortlessly, while many adults struggle with textbooks and grammar rules? The secret might be simpler than you think. It's all about stories. Hello, language enthusiasts, and welcome back to LMJ English, where we transform the way you learn English through powerful storytelling techniques. I'm thrilled to guide you through this incredible journey of discovering how immersive storytelling can revolutionize your language learning experience. Before we dive into this transformative approach, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to join our growing community of language learners who are discovering the magic of storytelling every day. Your journey to fluency begins with a single story, and we're here to share the most effective techniques with you. Immersive storytelling, a new path to fluency. Imagine learning a language without memorizing endless vocabulary lists or struggling with complicated grammar rules. Instead, picture yourself being transported to a world where language flows naturally through engaging stories, just as it did when you were learning your mother tongue. This is the power of immersive storytelling in language acquisition. Your brain is naturally wired to process and remember information presented in narrative form. When you engage with a compelling story, something remarkable happens in your brain. Neuroscience research has shown that stories activate multiple regions of your brain simultaneously, creating neural pathways that make language acquisition more natural and efficient. When you read or listen to a story, your brain doesn't just process words. It creates mental images, evokes emotions, and makes meaningful connections. This natural learning process explains why children can pick up languages with such ease. They don't study grammar rules. They absorb language through stories, conversations, and real-life situations. Stories provide the perfect context for understanding how language works in real-world settings, making learning both efficient and enjoyable. The emotional component of storytelling also plays a crucial role in language retention. When you feel emotionally connected to characters or situations in a story, your brain releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. This chemical reaction enhances your ability to remember new vocabulary and grammatical structures encountered in the story, transforming what might be considered difficult learning into an engaging and memorable experience. Unlocking vocabulary and grammar through context. Have you ever learned a new word from a textbook only to forget it a day later? That's because isolated vocabulary lists lack the crucial element that makes language stick: context. When you encounter words within meaningful stories, your brain forms associations that help you remember not just the definition, but how and when to use these words appropriately. Contextual learning is at the heart of effective language acquisition. Research has consistently shown that words learned in context are remembered up to 5 times better than words memorized from lists. This is because your brain creates a network of associations around each new word, connections to images, emotions, and situations that provide multiple pathways for recall. Take the word devastated, for example. You could memorize its definition as feeling severe shock, distress, or grief. But when you encounter it in a story, after losing the championship game in the final seconds, the team sat devastated in the locker room, some players unable to hold back tears. You not only understand its meaning, but also its emotional weight, appropriate usage, and even subtle connotations. Grammar too becomes intuitive rather than abstract when learned through stories. Instead of memorizing rules about past perfect tense, you naturally understand how it functions when you repeatedly encounter sentences like, "She realized she had forgotten her passport only after arriving at the airport." Your brain identifies patterns and internalizes grammatical structures through repeated exposure in meaningful contexts. Idioms and colloquial expressions, which often pose significant challenges for language learners, become accessible through storytelling. Expressions like "break the ice" or "under the weather" make little sense when translated literally, but within the context of a story, their meanings become clear and memorable. This natural approach to learning phrases and idioms helps you develop more authentic, native-like speech patterns. Finding your story, a world of language learning resources. The beauty of story-based language learning lies in its versatility and abundance of resources. No matter your interests or learning style, there's a storytelling medium perfectly suited to enhance your language journey. Graded readers offer an excellent starting point for many language learners. These, specially, designed books present stories using vocabulary and grammatical structures appropriate for different proficiency levels, beginning with simple tales and progressively moving to more complex narratives, allows you to experience the satisfaction of reading complete stories while gradually expanding your language capabilities. Genres ranging from mystery and romance to science fiction and historical fiction provide endless opportunities to maintain interest while building vocabulary specific to your areas of interest. Classic literature offers rich language and cultural insights, while contemporary fiction familiarizes you with modern expressions and colloquialisms. The key is finding stories that genuinely interest you. Motivation and enjoyment are powerful accelerators in the language learning process. In today's digital age, interactive language learning apps have transformed storytelling into immersive, gamified experiences. Platforms like Duolingo Stories, Bilinguapp, and LingQ combine narrative, engagement with interactive elements, immediate feedback, and progress tracking. These apps often incorporate spaced repetition systems that optimize vocabulary retention by presenting words at strategic intervals based on your individual learning patterns. Visual storytelling through movies and television shows with subtitles provides another powerful dimension to language learning. The dual coding theory in cognitive psychology suggests that information presented both verbally and visually is more readily processed and remembered. When you watch a film with subtitles, you simultaneously process the spoken language, written text, and visual context, creating multiple cognitive pathways for language acquisition. Building confidence through storytelling. One of the greatest obstacles to language fluency isn't lack of knowledge, it's lack of confidence. Many learners know far more than they actually use because anxiety and fear of making mistakes prevent them from expressing themselves freely. Storytelling offers a solution to this common problem by providing safe, engaging contexts for language. Practice. Role-playing and acting out scenes from stories create low-pressure opportunities to practice speaking without the anxiety of real-world consequences. When you step into a character's shoes, you temporarily set aside your own identity and the self-consciousness that often accompanies it. This psychological distance liberates you to experiment with new sounds, intonation patterns, and expressions that might otherwise feel uncomfortable. Embodied learning, incorporating physical movement into the language learning process, further enhances retention and fluency. Research in educational psychology has demonstrated that physically acting out vocabulary and expressions significantly improves recall compared to merely reading or listening. When you gesture dramatically while saying, "I was absolutely furious," your body and mind form connections that make both the language and the emotion more accessible in future conversations. Connecting with other language learners through story circles or language exchange programs builds both confidence and community. Sharing personal anecdotes, retelling familiar tales, or collaboratively creating new stories fosters a supportive environment where mistakes are viewed as natural steps in the learning process rather than embarrassing failures. These social interactions also provide authentic opportunities for negotiation of meaning, clarifying, questioning, and elaborating essential skills for real-world communication. Perhaps most importantly, storytelling helps you embrace the language learning journey with its inevitable challenges and plateaus. By recognizing that every great story involves obstacles, setbacks, and moments of growth, you develop resilience and a growth mindset that sustains motivation through difficult periods. Celebrating small victories, understanding a joke in your target language, successfully narrating a personal experience, or comprehending a news story without translation builds confidence incrementally until you suddenly realize how far you've come. Your story begins now. Embrace the power of storytelling. The most transformative aspect of story-based language learning is the transition from passive consumer to active creator. When you begin creating your own stories in your target language, you take ownership of your learning in a profound way. Personal journals and language diaries offer a private space to experiment with self-expression, beginning with simple daily entries. Today I went to the market and bought fresh vegetables, and gradually incorporating more complex structures and nuanced vocabulary creates a tangible record of your progress. These personal narratives also provide authentic context for the language you're learning, making vocabulary and grammar immediately relevant to your life. Creative writing exercises expand your linguistic horizons by challenging you to use language in new ways. Writing a short story from a character's perspective forces you to consider how emotions, background, and personality influence language choices. Creating dialogues develops your sense of natural conversation patterns. Even writing simple poetry experiments with rhythm, imagery, and concise expression. Digital storytelling projects, combining text, images, audio, and sometimes video, engage multiple skills simultaneously while creating shareable products that showcase your progress. These multimodal creations tap into different learning styles and provide motivation through the satisfaction of creating something both beautiful and meaningful. Building a consistent language learning routine centered around storytelling ensures steady progress. The most effective approach combines input activities, reading and listening to stories, with output activities, retelling, summarizing, and creating stories. This balance develops both receptive and productive language skills while maintaining engagement through variety. The impact of story-based language learning extends far beyond vocabulary acquisition or grammatical accuracy. Through stories, you gain insights into different cultures, perspectives, and ways of thinking. You develop empathy by experiencing the world through diverse characters and narratives. You discover that language isn't just about communication, it's about connection, understanding, and sharing our collective human experience. Your journey from language student to storyteller completes a beautiful circle. As you become fluent, enough to share your own stories, you join the grand tradition of human communication that has connected people across time, space, and cultural boundaries. The stories you tell, whether personal anecdotes, creative fiction, or cultural narratives, become your unique contribution to this ongoing conversation. As we reach the end of our exploration into the power of immersive storytelling for language learning, I hope you're feeling inspired to incorporate stories into your own language journey. Remember, every fluent speaker was once a beginner, and every great storyteller started with simple sentences. If you've enjoyed discovering these techniques, please take a moment to like this video and share it with fellow language enthusiasts who might benefit from this approach. Your support helps our community grow and allows us to continue creating valuable content for language learners worldwide. Don't forget to leave a comment below, sharing your favorite story-based learning resources or your personal experience with storytelling and language acquisition. Your insights might be exactly what another learner needs to hear. Thank you for joining us today on LMJ English. Until next time, keep reading, keep listening, and most importantly, keep telling your story in English. Vocabulary, list, immersive, ADJ. Completely involving or engaging all of your attention or energy. Example: the immersive language learning experience helped her improve rapidly. Acquisition, noun. The process of gaining knowledge or learning a skill. Example: language acquisition happens naturally when we're surrounded by stories. Narrative. Noun. A story or an account of a series of events. Example: a compelling narrative can make new vocabulary more memorable. Context. Noun. The circumstances or setting in which something occurs. Example: learning words in context is more effective than memorizing lists. Retention. Noun. The ability to keep or hold something in memory. Example: emotional stories improve retention of new vocabulary. Intuitive, ADG, based on feelings rather than facts or proof. Instinctive. Example: grammar becomes intuitive when learned through natural exposure. Compelling, ADJ, evoking interest, attention, or admiration in a powerful way. Example: a compelling story can make even difficult grammar points easier to understand. Proficiency, noun, a high degree of skill or expertise. Example: story-based learning can significantly improve your language proficiency. Engagement, noun, the act of being involved with something. Example: student engagement increases dramatically with storytelling techniques. Plateau, noun, a state of little or no change following a period of activity or progress. Example: many learners hit a plateau in their studies, but storytelling can help overcome it. Neural, ADJ, relating to nerves or the nervous system. Example: stories create neural connections that strengthen language memory. Dopamine, noun, neurotransmitter that plays a role in how we feel pleasure. Example: engaging stories trigger dopamine release, which enhances learning. Colloquial, ADJ, used in ordinary or familiar conversation, not formal or literary. Example: through stories you can learn colloquial expressions that aren't taught in textbooks. Resilience, noun, the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. Example: building resilience is important for overcoming language learning challenges. Embodied. Says, giving tangible or visible form to an abstract idea. Example: Embodied learning involves physical movements to reinforce language concepts. Multimodal ADJ, characterized by several different modes of activity or occurrence. Example, multimodal storytelling combines text, audio, and visuals for enhanced learning, cognitive ADJ, relating to the mental processes of perception, memory, judgment, and reasoning. Example, stories engage multiple cognitive processes simultaneously. Idiomatic ADJ, using, containing, or denoting expressions that are natural to a native speaker. Example, idiomatic expressions are best learned through contextual stories. Fluency, noun, the ability to express oneself easily and articulately. Example, regular storytelling practice contributes significantly to developing fluency. Neuroplasticity, noun, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. Example, storytelling takes advantage of neuroplasticity to help you learn languages more effectively.